Not perfect? Lyra tilted her head, her grin stretching just enough to feel wrong, while Sina leaned closer to her, their shoulders brushing like they were sharing a secret I wasn't invited to hear. Wow, that's new. The laughter hit before the words did, sharp and too loud for something that was supposed to be harmless. And I stood there with my test papers still in my hand, smiling a second too late, realizing I had already missed the moment where it stopped being a joke and turned into something else. I forced out a laugh because that was what we always did. We laughed at everything and nothing, at each other. That was how we had always been since we were small, sharing lunches like they were contracts, copying homework when one of us forgot, building ridiculous inside jokes that no one else could understand no matter how hard they tried. We grew up tangled together, like sisters who didn't need to say it out loud. So I laughed, even when something in my chest felt heavier than it should have. It's still passing, I said, lifting the paper like it could defend me. Barely, Senna replied, her tone light, but her eyes not quite matching it, and then they both laughed again, louder this time, and I joined them because I didn't know what else to do. At first, I told myself it was nothing, just a moment that landed wrong. But then it happened again and again until the pattern stopped feeling like coincidence and started feeling like intention. It wasn't just my grades, it was everything. The outfit I wore one morning that Lyra said looked brave in a way that didn't feel like a compliment. The way I answered a question in class that Senna repeated in a mocking tone, exaggerating my words just enough to make them sound ridiculous. Even the way I laughed sometimes became something they echoed back to me like it was a performance. I hadn't realized I was giving. It was subtle, always subtle. Just enough that if I called it out, I would look like I was overreacting. But it hurt. And the worst part wasn't that it was happening. It was that it was both of them. Always both of them. Like they had quietly decided, without telling me, that I was now on the outside of something we used to share equally. Soon, I started noticing the smaller things too. The quiet shifts that felt louder than any laughter. The way they would lean into each other and whisper, their voices dropping just low enough that I couldn't hear. The way a joke would pass between them, quick and private, and when I asked what was funny, they would exchange a glance before smiling at me. It's nothing. Nothing became the word that followed me everywhere. Nothing I needed to know. Nothing I was part of anymore. That was when the question started forming, slow and uncomfortable, settling somewhere deep where I couldn't ignore it. Was I still their friend? Or was I just someone they used to be close to? The answer didn't come all at once. It came in pieces, in moments I couldn't unsee once I started paying attention. Like the day I told them I wanted to try out for the cheering squad. The idea had been sitting in my chest for weeks, quiet but persistent, like something waiting to be acknowledged. I had imagined telling them and hearing excitement, maybe teasing, maybe encouragement. That was how it should have gone. Instead, Lyra's expression shifted immediately, her brows pulling together in something that looked almost like concern. "Why would you do that?" she asked, too quickly. Sina laughed, but it wasn't the same laughter we used to share. "You? Really?" I blinked, caught off guard. "Yeah, I just want to try. It's embarrassing," Lyra said, shaking her head. "Those things are just not you, and it's not even worth it," Sina added, crossing her arms. "You'll just stress yourself out for nothing." Their words came one after another, stacking on top of each other, until the idea that had felt so steady inside me started to wobble. "You don't need to do that," Lyra finished, her voice softer now, almost persuasive. "We're fine like this." That word used to mean everything. Now it felt like a boundary. For a moment, I almost agreed with them. Almost let the idea go, like I had let so many small things go before. But something in me resisted this time, something quiet but firm. It wasn't about the cheering squad anymore. It was about the way they were looking at me, like my choices only mattered if they matched theirs. Like if they weren't doing something, I wasn't allowed to do it either. And that was when I realized something that felt both obvious and terrifying. If I kept waiting for their approval, I would never move forward. So I didn't wait. "I'm still going to try," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. They exchanged a look again, that same silent communication I had grown to hate. "Do what you want," Sina said with a shrug, but there was something sharp underneath it. "I will," I replied, and for the first time in a long time, I meant it without hesitation. The tryouts were harder than I expected, exhausting in a way that made my muscles ache and my lungs burn, but none of that mattered when I saw my name on the list. I made it, and standing there, staring at the proof of something I had done on my own, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. Real, undeniable pride that didn't depend on anyone else's reaction. When I told them, I wasn't sure what I expected anymore. "Seriously?" Lyra said, her smile tight. Sina let out a short laugh. "Guess they were desperate." The words landed, but they didn't sink in the way they used to. Instead, I felt a strange kind of distance, like I was watching the moment from somewhere just outside it. For the first time, their opinions didn't feel like something I needed to absorb. They just felt like theirs. And that was when things started to shift. Not all at once, not dramatically, but steadily. I stopped waiting for them before making decisions, stopped checking their reactions before deciding how I felt about something. I started sitting with other people sometimes, joining conversations that didn't revolve around them, letting myself exist in spaces where I wasn't constantly measuring myself against their expectations. And the more I did, the clearer everything became. The whispers didn't stop. The jokes didn't disappear. But they lost their weight. Because I started seeing them for what they were. Not inside jokes I was missing, but conversations that didn't include me anymore. And maybe that should have hurt more than it did. Maybe it would have if I hadn't already started building something outside of them. The real breaking point didn't come with a loud argument or a dramatic confrontation. It came quietly one afternoon when they were laughing again, leaning into each other the way they always did now, and I realized I wasn't wondering what was funny anymore. I didn't ask. I didn't wait. I just turned away and walked towards something else, something that felt like mine. Later, I heard it. "She's acting different," Sina said, her voice low but not low enough. "Yeah," Lyra replied. "Like she thinks she's better than us now." I paused just for a second, the words brushing against me without cutting, then I kept walking, because that was the twist I hadn't expected. They weren't stronger together. They just needed me to stay smaller. And the moment I stopped, the balance shifted. I wasn't the one being pushed out anymore. I was the one stepping away. And for the first time, that didn't feel like losing something. It felt like finally choosing myself.